Friends, people have been telling me, Shiv, you are obsessed with those B-2 bombers and what they did to Iran's nuclear facilities 5 days ago. Well, they're right. As a defense reporter, there is a part of me that's obsessed with warcraft and military operations. But today I'm turning this story somewhat on its head. Operation Midnight Hammer, the American bombing strike on nuclear facilities in Iran, was always going to be a high-stakes, a dramatic show of force using America's most elite stealth aircraft to strike deep inside Iran's nuclear infrastructure. But now the mission is facing an unexpected twist, having to now prove that the strikes were actually damaging and a success. And at the center of this pressure cooker is Donald Trump himself, a man who, even after the dramatic fireworks and bunker busters, finds himself flustered and furious over being asked one simple question: did the strikes actually work? It all started with a leaked intelligence report doing the rounds right after the US strikes may have only set back Iran's nuclear program by a few months. That's what this leaked report said. Well, a few months is a far cry from the back to the Stone Age blow that Trump was trumpeting. And that's all it took for the pressure to completely explode. Trump himself launched into a furious attack on the New York Times and CNN, accusing them of disinformation, treason, and being enemies of America. He even posted on social media saying fake news wants Iran to win. That post is now everywhere. The clearest sign that even the most powerful man in the world is not immune to inconvenient narrative triggered by leaked documents. Well, then came the drama at the Pentagon. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth absolutely lost it at a press conference when asked about the intelligence leak. Cameras caught his angry exchange with a journalist. And let's just say, if looks could kill, the Pentagon would have another crater to explain. Well, in an effort to claw back control of this narrative, the White House then released a very slick video of a bunker buster test, footage meant to dazzle and defend the strikes. It shows a bomb plunging into reinforced concrete, causing a monstrous explosion. Not actual footage of the strikes from Iran, but close enough, right? America's Joint Chiefs of Staff added fuel to the optics fire, saying the explosions were the brightest ever seen, looked like daylight at midnight, which is an odd thing to say, given that the GBU-57 bunker busters are supposed to have penetrated 60 meters deep and then detonated deep inside a mountain. So what precise explosions lit up the night sky remains something of a mystery according to experts, unless an angry ball of flame rode all the way up that narrow shaft and propagated into an enormous mushroom cloud. The CIA director tried to push back too, claiming Iran's nuclear sites were severely damaged, but none of this has stopped the drumbeat of doubt. And that's got Team Trump more annoyed perhaps than anything else this week. If you ask me personally as a reporter, I don't think there is any question that the B-2 bombers brought hell to their targets, and severe damage has definitely been caused. The range, precision, and stealth were unmatched. But now Trump faces a different kind of a battlefield. Perception, even if it's being amplified only by sections of America that don't particularly like the US president. And in that war of perception, optics may matter more than actual demonstrable outcomes. So here we are, a political storm over a military strike, intelligence reports leaking like sieves, denials and deflections flying, and a leader trapped in the spin cycle of drama, at least part of it of his own making. Which makes you wonder, has Trump walked into a familiar narrative trap, one we in India know all too well, where military action gets devoured by the need to prove it, defend it, and spin it until the action itself is lost in the noise? And joining me live now from the United States to talk a little bit more about this is Glenn Carl, former Deputy National Intelligence Officer for Transnational Threats. This includes terrorism on the National Intelligence Council. He's been a career CIA officer as well. Glenn, good to have you. Thank you very much for being with me. This eruption of narrative management, a leaked intelligence report, without going into whether or not things were damaged, What are you making of this? The president doesn't seem very happy about having to battle narrative perceptions that the strikes didn't damage anything.
Well, thank you for having me. Just about the only sentence that you said with which I even partially disagree was when you said that the kerfuffle right now is partially of Trump's making, and it's really entirely of his making.
Yeah.
This is the kind of melodrama that we all watch on television in the evening after we've finished a day's work, and then it's amusing and distracting. But unfortunately for me as an American and for all of us, because America is a significant country, this is actually happening and has substance. So in my experience, which is standard in this regard, leaks of intelligence issues don't come from the intelligence community.
Yeah.
They almost invariably come from Congress. So to that extent, I would interpret, I don't know, that Trump's and the administration's statement that this is a leak with political intent is correct. Someone on the Hill wanted to make a point. However, the point is a legitimate one, frankly. And if Trump and Hegseth and the administration were remotely competent and intelligent, what they would do is say, well, yes, interpreting intelligence always takes time. There will always be contradictory assessments. Our assessment is that the damage has been significant, and we'll find out as we go forward. But they won't let themselves do that, they, the administration, because Trump boxed himself into a dilemma before the strike, which was that he had said, we will not accept any nuclear weapon or capability by Iran, and we will not go to war.
Yeah.
We will not have forever wars in the Middle East ever again. Well, this is a circle, and he's trying to square it. So his way out has been to do a limited strike, which may have had great effect, which has had some degree of substantive success.
Yes.
And then declare victory. And so any challenge to that puts him back in the box that he created for himself. And that's why you have this childish, really childish, disqualifying, offensive behavior. It's worse than offensive behavior by Hegseth and by Trump, but unfortunately characteristic from both of them.
Does it worry Trump, however? You know, he is the president of the United States. Does this narrative of the strikes not being that successful actually worry him politically or otherwise?
Well, certainly, because it makes him look bad. He has, as we all should know by now, the man of the 8 billion people now alive, the man with, or the person with the thinnest skin of them all is Donald Trump. And so even a vague allusion by some peasant in Central Africa who's illiterate and has never seen Donald Trump, in person, that may be construed in some way as to challenge the supremacy, all-knowingness, and invariable success of Donald Trump, Trump will find unacceptable and an apocalyptic issue. And that's what's happening here, because to challenge his narrative does, show the sand under his feet.
Well, we know all about narratives and falling into traps here after Operation Sindoor. The pressure had been on India despite those very visible strikes as well. So I'll end this by saying there is a note of empathy that one can strike as well for what Trump is actually going through right now. But thanks.
No. You're far too kind. No. No sympathy for this little crisis.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that, Glenn. But we're out of time. I appreciate your time here. Thank you very much, Glenn, for being with me here on India Matters.